So I made it into the basement, and I was greeted by this creepy-ass, pale-skinned, butt-naked mannequin who had a holotape in his hand. There was nothing on the holotape but nonsensical bullshit, so I shot the mannequin's head off and shot him in his non-existent dick. I seen that there was a door, but it was barred, so I tried to shoot through it. Not successful. Then I seen this bookshelf and I realized, oh, here we go again with the bookshelves. Yep, there was bodies galore hidden behind that bookshelf. So I had to try and find the lever, the button, whatever it was that was going to open it up. So I searched the room, and then I see this body attached to the ceiling. And inside the mouth of that body, there was, of course, a button to open the bookshelf. And my God, behind this bookshelf, it was much worse than the rest of the house. There were corpses galore. There were bodies with the skin completely filleted. There were heads on pikes. Bodies spread across the room, on the ceiling, on the ground, on bookshelves. There were torsos, femurs, bits of brains. It was the most grotesque thing I've ever seen and smelled. I can't even describe the stench. I'm surprised I made it through without passing out. Then I found another note from the sick fuck that read, "Your children are not safe anywhere at any time." After reading that note, I come to the realization that this guy was basically the human version of Pennywise the Dancing Clown from Stephen King's It, because he really liked going after children and eating them. And I don't even want to think about all the things he did with those children before he ate them. Ugh. So I began to search the room, moving shit around, because I seen that there were 3 doors. And I knew that they were locked, so I had to find keys. Ended up finding one up on top of a pipe. Seen a little ramp leading up there, so that gave me a hint that it was up there. Continued my search, looking for clues and keys. Ended up trying the key I found on a door, but it didn't go to that one. It went to one of the other 2. I ended up going over towards the sink, and next to it there was a mutilated skull with a plunger stuck to his head. And I don't know why, but it made me laugh inside. I guess I've got a sick sense of humor sometimes. And then I found another note that read, "This smug son of a bitch and his baby tried breaking into my house at night. They said they were trying to find shelter. I told them to follow me. Once in the basement, I took the father and smashed his fucking skull into the toilet. Made quite the mess. I then took his child, snapped its neck, and stuffed him into a broken hole in the wall." So after reading that note, I started to look for the hole in the wall where he stuffed that poor baby. Ended up finding it behind some boxes on a shelf, and in its little hands was another key. I ended up shooting the baby in the head, just in case it was still alive and suffering. After seeing that poor baby in that wall, it made me want to find this sick son of a bitch 10 times more. I couldn't let this asshole get away with murdering children anymore. So I continued the hunt for more clues, and I ended up finding another note that read, "This is my ambition, to have killed more people, more helpless people than any man or woman has ever killed. I've killed at least 1 child in every state. That's just the beginning." So after reading this note, I was infuriated. Steam was coming out of my ears. I was in a rush to find this piece of shit. Knowing that he's killed at least 1 child in every state. That's 50 states. That's 50 poor children that he's probably consumed are fucked and murdered. He had to be stopped. So I ended up using the keys that I found to start opening doors. Opened what looked to be a storage room. Looked around inside. First, I didn't think I was going to find anything. I was so pissed, I was losing my composure. All I could think was how I wanted to murder this motherfucker, then eating myself, give him a taste of his own medicine. So I started moving around baskets on top of one of the shelves. And the last one revealed another key. So I left that room, headed over to the next one. Opened it up, realized this was going to lead somewhere else. So I checked the other room. Looked to be another storage room. So where there's a storage room, there's usually something that I need to find. Another bookshelf that's most likely going to open. Started looking around for another key or a button or a lever of some sort. Ended up seeing two corpses, one hanging on a cork board and the other one laying on what looked to be a work table. It was missing its head. I had no clue where it was. The sick fuck probably chopped it off and shoved it up his ass. But there was also a note that read,
"Your wet lips were a promise of a secret, misspoken, nervous laugh as it burst like a pulse of blood from your throat. There will be no more laughter here."
So after reading that note, I come to the realization, even though this guy seemed to have a sick sense of humor, he did not enjoy people having a sense of humor themselves. So I left that room, headed into the other room that I opened previously. And what did I find? You guessed it. More dead bodies. He had a shotgun rigged, but it didn't go off when I walked by it. Then as I walked back by, I realized that shotgun was used to blow off a victim's head who was sitting in a chair across from it. Ended up unlocking another secure door, and inside of it there were heads hanging from the ceiling, and a dead man hung on the wall with a bucket and teddy bear on top of his head with a spotlight shining. Shot that fucking spotlight down. Then I ended up removing the teddy bear, taking off the bucket, where I found another key that was lodged in this poor man's eye socket. Before I left the room, I blew that poor man's head off because I was a little bit trigger happy. I was pissed off. I wanted to find this fucking prick and put a bullet in between his eyes. But shooting a corpse was the next best thing at that moment. Sometimes I have a temper and it's hard to control. So I walk into the next room. I find this body mangled up in a ladder. And then another corpse stuck to the wall with spikes. Looked around the room, hoping to find some more clues, notes, keys. And then I see a flooded area. So I'm like, might as well. I've already came this far. So I went swimming down below. Luckily, I was in the Navy, so I could hold my breath for an extremely long time. Found a poor dead lady's body inside of a refrigerator. I guess she tried to escape. She hid out in the refrigerator, but then it started to flood. She couldn't make it out, so she died. Then I found a shelf, and what did I find? Another button. Continue to swim around the room, looking for anything and everything. It actually felt good to swim around in this room. It used to be one of my favorite pastimes before the bombs dropped. I ended up finding 2 teddy bears chilling in a box. It looked like they had a mind of their own, like they were actually living, scared of drowning. So they got in a box to prevent that. The teddy bears in this city were like that. Real creepy shit. So I continue to swim around looking for clues. Other than that button, I didn't really find too much else. Then I found the secret passageway that the button opened. I swam through it. Seen some heads on pikes. And then I booked it to the security gate at the end of the hallway. I had finally made it out of the water. Well, for the most part. In this room, I looked around for more clues. I was just hoping to not find any more dead bodies. I don't know how much more my psyche could take. Find this door, but it was locked. There's got to be a key around there somewhere, I thought. So I go into the bathroom. There's 2 closed stalls. So I begin to open the stalls. In the far end stall, there was a dead guy who had his head and his hands chopped off. And then in the next stall, there was a severed head in the toilet bowl with its mouth open. And next to that toilet bowl, there was the key I needed. And then I go to open the door,